we should see Laura Eli and Manuel and Mark Krigler, rather, starting from pit lane for the start of today's race. Otherwise, everybody else should be lining up ready to go as they are behind the safety car. Joey, what are your expectations now that we've got one under our belt, albeit maybe a bit of a messy one?
Yeah, I think that it's a new day out here, so the drivers are anxiously looking forward to the green flag and having a clean race here today. I think that's on everybody's mind, is to stay contact-free and make sure everybody makes it to the checkered flag.
All right, they've got them lined up 2 by 2. It'll be a single start for both the Cup cars and the Caymans. So just a single green flag as they line up. They cannot break line until they get past the start-finish line. And there is the green flag. We are underway for race number 2 here at Apex Motor Club. Down into turn 1. It's another good run from Brandon Henkins. Behind him, though, Jordan Darling didn't get a chance to show what he could do this time. He is hot on his heels out of 2.
And this is the run, that long straightaway all the way down to turn number 3. I think I saw a couple of those Caymans side by side a little bit further back, but most importantly, that white and black 295 out front. That's Brandon Henkins picking up exactly where he left off yesterday.
Took another win, his second in his career here in Porsche Sprint Challenge, and he's going to try and make it his third today. So far, so good here, half a lap into the first circuit around the track. Greg Herback currently leading down in the Caymans, and that is in the Masters class. Zach Bradford, your leader in the Pro-Am. But Zach won the overall of the Caymans yesterday, so Greg is going to want to try and bounce back today.
And did you see that wiggle out of Greg Herback there at the middle of turn number 5? You got to remember, it's the first lap, so the temperatures in the car still getting up there, the tires still getting up to those pressures. And what's crucial right here is that Herback is actually in front of Bradford. Remember, it was Bradford that kind of gave chase all race yesterday, was very patient, and then finally pounced at turn number 3 to claim that overall Cayman class victory.
So now we have to wonder, what did Greg learn from that? Can he maybe hold him back the entire race, or maybe he can try and run away if he's got a little bit more pace? They did have a warm-up this morning, and could have been just a few small changes that may have helped out a few drivers. Meanwhile, you can see Laura Eli catching the back of our Cayman fields, so they'll have to try and let her by, and she's got to tiptoe her way past because she's not fighting for position. She needs to get to her class, which is the next one up. Looks like Del Real there in the 270 machine.
And he's about 4.5 seconds up the road, because remember, both Laura and Mark Krigler started on pit lane, so they're just naturally making their way through this Cayman field, and you can see those Cup cars just up the road. Laura getting down to the inside there of Zach Bradford in turn number 3, that huge braking zone. That's where we're going to see the majority of our passing. And I also think down here at turn number 5, but this is going to be a race to kind of keep our eye on, right? Because Lewis yesterday, he was kind of hanging out in third place and then really came on a charge late in the race, and certainly seems like he's on the bumper of Bradford early today.
Henry Marshall, who comes back with his third win yesterday in his career, is now up in the lead of the Masters. That was his first Cup win, though, we should note, as he was racing in the Caymans last time out. And there was, looked like Krigler maybe trying to take a look at getting past Bradford. That was Lewis, as now he's able to get by with a little flash of the headlights, and 2 more cars to go, and he's back with his class.
Yes, he was flashing the headlights, but it's a very polite flash that we have here, because it is the different class, and we know that how similar these cars are actually on that performance level, especially with the acceleration and the top speed between the Cup cars and the Caymans. Very, very similar. So I think that Krigler is doing an excellent job just kind of hanging out, being patient, and then finally making that move. Same thing that we just saw to Laura Eli with Greg Herback.
Yeah, like what we're seeing. They were both drivers that were involved in the opening incident last time, so I think they want to just get to the finish here today, need to log some more laps. That's, even if they don't get the finishing position they might want, that's still great information for later. While it looks like Krigler's going to have to go around the outside of Bradford here, he decides to back out of it before they get to 3.
think it was just a little bit of a decision on the line going down that straightaway, but now we're seeing a little bit more urgency out of Krigler. Let's see if he gets to the inside before turn number 4. No, he's going to opt to sit in the wake there of that Cayman as we get some more shots. This is Henry Marshall. I believe he's defending off of that blue 270. That's Manny Newcomer here in the series, and certainly putting up a fight right now with yesterday's winner.
Yeah, this is for the class lead right now. Manny just sitting behind him by, it looks like, about a second, just barely. So Henry's holding off for the time being. Maybe got some confidence underneath him from the victory. Question is, can he carry that over to today as we watch that 278 fly down into turn 12. He's currently 4th overall as well. Himself only about a second behind Fabi, who is sitting in 3rd in the Pro-Ams.
This is an interesting position, too, for Henry Marshall. We were talking to the team manager, Brandon Chappell, over there at HM Road Racing earlier today. And, you know, when Henry was out yesterday, he was just taking it easy, making sure that he brought home that victory. But Brandon said, no, we're going to go out there and do that warm-up this morning. We're going to make sure you're on pace. And here he is in race time, on pace, chasing down one of those Pro-Am cars.
Exactly. And you know, it's I like that because you proved you could do that. Now let's take it one step further. If you can get the car home safely, well, let's see if you can get it safely faster to the finish line. In the meantime, Brandon Henkins is setting the fastest lap of the race up at the top of the field. Not looking like he is under threat as Jordan Darling is already about 4 seconds behind.
Yeah, I pointed that out here on timing and scoring just because of the margin that he has on that lap. It was nearly a second faster than Jordan Darling there. So Brandon Henkins definitely is clicking with this racetrack. And if we remember when we talked to him too, he's got the most experience out of the entire field here.
Meantime, it looks like Bradford is in a bit of a reverse situation from last time out. Instead of on the attack, he's now on the defense. Justin Lewis is starting to lay the pressure on. They're coming through turn 7 currently. There's going to be just a couple S's is on the bottom screen. I think we have a bit of a battle for position once again.
Yeah, that's Manny Del Rio putting the pressure on Henry Marshall on the lower right screen, and then we've got our Cayman battle for what is 2nd overall in that class. But I think that this run down on the bottom part of the screen here with these Cup cars is going to get pretty interesting down this straightaway here. I say that, and Henry Marshall nails the exit, kind of puts the stiff arm out on Manny. It's not going to happen this lap.
Exactly, and it's not just within his own class. I'm sure that he looks forward towards David Fabi and thinks, you know what, I could be on the overall podium. He doesn't get anything more for that, but that's just another tick on the box for him. He's still staying close to the rear wing of Marshall, coming down into turn 5, shows himself to the inside a little bit, is going to actually get the overlap down on the entry into the corner. Henry will leave the space open, and there goes Manny. He's your new leader in the Masters.
That was great heads-up racing from both of those drivers. Manny got the car down to the inside, presented it cleanly, and guess what? Henry Marshall left the space for him at Apex. He didn't try to close the door. He didn't try to close it too late. He simply left racing room for his competitor, and they're both still racing.
Good to see Del Rio bounce back as well as he has, because he was another one that was involved in the opening incident and didn't start all that high up in the Cup field. So, man, great job rebounding and already leading his class early in the race.
This Cayman battle is certainly something else. We did not see it yesterday. You had mentioned it was really Zach Bradford versus Greg Herback, right? And Justin Lewis was kind of hanging out trying to catch the tail end of him, but this time Justin Lewis is applying all sorts of pressure to the back of that white, green, and gold number 14 car, and he is going to have to deal with it because he is not going anywhere in that rearview mirror.
And this surprises me more because we saw him, I would say, maybe about a second and a half at most behind Greg Herback early in the race. He reeled him back in and put that challenge on. This time, it's a much wider gap in the early stages. I wonder if Greg thinks, you know what, I got the pace early. I might as well put some distance on, and maybe that'll help me later on if he does catch me.
I do like that idea. I do think it's difficult to even when they're fighting, though, to kind of gap out that lead. So Greg is doing a terrific job up 5.5 seconds over second place. Maybe it's those Winter Olympics and those alpine skiing events that have maybe lit the fire for Herbach.
Exactly. We haven't, I think, mentioned yet this weekend that is Herbach's background, as he was a competitive downhill ski racer before he decided to give a try here at Motorsports. And we saw a little bit of an adjustment period when he first came in, but man, it was just a couple races in, and we saw him pick up pace each and every time he hit the track to the point where he finally got his first win yesterday.
And I always look for those previous career competitive drivers, right? And Herbach is exactly that. He knows racing, and so I think that he's also able to learn and adapt. If he's relatively new to this track, think about everything that he learned yesterday, even after being passed by Zach. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of a faster car. Oh, look at the line he takes here. Oh, he goes a little bit deeper there. And obviously, Herbach has put it into use today.
Yeah, I think it was maybe about 3 seconds between them at the checkered flag. So I'd say he learned quite a bit in his time behind him, even in the last race. But now, with all that information from the get-go, he looks a little bit more untouchable than what we saw before. This continues to be the battle for second amongst the Caymans, with Lewis still showing up in the mirrors of Bradford. Just can't seem to get by in these early parts. And, of course, Lewis, who has also raced competitively just on two wheels, is now making the switch over to race cars instead of dirt bikes, and is maybe learning a few things here and there himself. But he seems like a quick study, as already he's up against the driver who won amongst all the Caymans yesterday.
As we're just kind of watching this Cayman battle, I do want to point out that Brandon Henkins has set another fastest lap. In fact, he just crossed the line again and reset the fastest lap, a 1:31.8. And remember, we're 11 minutes into this race. And yesterday he was doing low 32s at the end, but it seems like the consistency has picked up another 2/10, maybe 3/10. He's hanging out in the high 31s today.
Yeah, his best lap is still about 9/10 faster than anybody else's fastest lap out there. So Henkins is flying.
And I mean, the last lap was nearly 2 seconds faster than Darling.
So just pace in comparison, lap to lap, he's got a huge advantage and is using it well to his efforts, as he's got himself now nearly 10 seconds ahead of Jordan Darling. No worries about losing the lead to him. Now, we always could have a yellow flag and it bunches things up, but with that pace in hand, I'm sure he is not worried at this stage. We continue to follow the battle for P2 in the Cayman class. At what point also do they get caught by our leader? I'm actually kind of curious what the track map looks like. Let me check that.
You know, I just saw Brandon Henkins flash by on the other part of the screen, so he is entering the turn 10-11 area right now. So he's call it a good third of a track behind, but it's a healthy third of a track. It's still going to be a solid 10 or 15 minutes, I think, before we even get to that lapped traffic.
Yep, I've got our track map up now, and I'll check in on that from time to time to see if he and the others could start to become a little bit of a conflict of interest out there on the circuit. In the meantime, through turn 5, once again, continuing to keep him just a little bit too far away for Justin to be able to do anything.
I think it's a great learning experience for both of these drivers. Both incredibly different backgrounds, but new here for 2026. I was very impressed with what Zach Bradford did yesterday. Being so new in a car, being so new to competition formats like this, and to stay patient, it's not something that most drivers have. And you do have to have patience in car racing. The opportunity is not going to be there every single corner, every single lap. So I really liked the driver of the 14 yesterday, and right now the driver of the number 75, Justin Lewis, is doing a terrific job, and it's just totally put Bradford in a different position than he was yesterday. So we're seeing a different side of him.
On the bottom, we see Henkins, who continues to lead by a pretty big margin. How much of that racecraft in wheel-to-wheel racing only comes with experience? Is that something that you can have an instinct for, or is it just have to be learned through hours in the car?
I think the natural racing drivers do have an instinct. So, yeah, it is there down deep somewhere, right? But the more experience you have racing wheel to wheel or handlebar to handlebar or going through the ski gates, that's the competitive drive, right? Oh, how is he 0.2 of a second faster? How is she half a second faster than me? And how do I pick up that time? That's that competitive drive.
Continuing to watch the battle on the top, though it is slightly farther apart than what we saw earlier on. While we give a little love there on the bottom screen, like I said, to Henkins. The gap up to 12 seconds now. And remember, this is a 35-minute plus 1 lap race. We're down to a little bit more than 20 minutes plus a lap left to go. So in the first third of today's event, or just past that first third, and lots left that could happen.
And this is the best battle that we've got on the racetrack. Our overall leader, Brandon Henkins, now a 12-second lead over Darling, and then Darling has about 12, maybe 13 seconds over David Fabi there in that Pro-Am podium class. So the other one, actually, that's starting to get a little close that I see on timing and scoring is Laura Eli has officially caught Henry Marshall, and that is for the Masters class lead. Here it is on our screen going down what is called the back straightaway here. This is going to be going into what is the turn 9, 10, 11 complex, and Laura Eli is showing the nose down to the inside late on the brake. Can she get the car stopped? Yes, and Henry gave her room, and I mistook. This is turn number 5 that she's making the pass in.
Indeed, down at the hairpin. Did not wait. She arrived at the scene and then just whooshed on by. Now, the thing that we must have missed is it seems like Manny had a mistake because, remember, he was leading Henry, and now he's about 12 seconds behind this battle. So I fear there may have been something that we did not catch on camera. He is still on the podium, of course, with the Masters, but things have gone sideways after the start of the race looked so good.
This is a great battle, though, and I think that Laura Eli, this is the redemption race after yesterday, right? And not only being able to go out there and turn the laps, and this Black Sheep Racing Squad did a terrific job to get the car fixed back up for Laura to go out there and perform. And it's not always easy to, remember, start in pit lane. She already had to pass the Caymans, and then she had to turn those consistent laps, catch up to her own class, and here she is leading it now. And
I like the way that she's turned this around because we saw in yesterday's broadcast her walking away from the car, and a driver doesn't have to tell you explicitly how they feel. You could see through the body language, and even today, you could see that, she's not happy unless the results are there. And I think after today, if she can keep this up, she'll be all smiles.
She will. And, what's the best trophy to take home? The one that says number 1 on it.
Absolutely. So the 209 now up at the top of the Masters. Great job coming from pit lane now to leading in class. Now, it is still 33 seconds behind Henkins overall, but I don't think she's too worried about that for today. Job 1 was just to get up to the Masters. I think, let's see, up to Fabi. Oh, it's about 4.5 seconds. She still could get to the overall podium.
She certainly could. I think what my eye is drawn to, though, is more the 270 and the 204, and just kind of seeing what they can do here in the next 17 minutes plus a lap, because they have proven themselves to be able to turn, call it 34s, maybe even 33s out here. And if they do that consistently, they're a little ways back right now from that number 278 car out there on track. But I think it'll get pretty close towards the end.
Yeah, good catch on that one. Krigler not really up to the back of Del Real quite yet. It's about 4.5 seconds between the two of them. Now up to 5 as we got a yellow, and that is from a spun car. And what is that for? It just says double yellow, so I'm trying to figure out who that is that we have had stopped.
It looks like it's David Fabi, the 230 car.
No.
And he's starting to fall down the order. Now, we do not have a full course yellow. This is just a local yellow flag waiting for Fabi there to be able to refire the car and be able to turn it around. And I'm sure that if it is stricken out there, we will go full course yellow, but we want to try to keep it green flag.
Absolutely. And the worst news is he does eventually get it going, is Krigler was able to get by. Now, great news for Krigler because he's now on the podium, but Fabi has fallen to 4th, and we'll see once he hits a timing loop how much distance he has to make up in about 16 minutes in a lap.
turn number 1 here is a little bit of a doozy, isn't it? You know, we saw it at the race start yesterday that several drivers just got in way too deep, and on the, call it inside part of the racetrack, it's very dusty and dirty as well, so it's low grip when you're off of the racing line. But the thing that we really haven't touched on is that elevation drop, right? The car is very, very weightless for the first half, maybe even first 2/3 of the corner, and then you have this big compression where it grips up and really launches you out. However, if you get way too loose and it's unweighted, around you go.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have the onboards today to really show you because our angles don't do it justice. But for our audience, if I could give a comparison, think a miniature, sharper turn 1 at Brands Hatch, Paddock Hill Bend. And that's kind of what you're experiencing at a smaller scale. We still have another yellow flag, though, happening. Not sure. And I see Bradford and Lewis just swapping positions. I don't know if that's related.
And we got another car around to
again.
turn number 1, and this looks to be one of the Cup cars.
Marshall.
I believe this is the HM car. Yeah, this is Henry Marshall spun around in turn number 1. I know that in the warm-up practice, maybe a little bit of a similar incident out there as well.
So Del Real moves back up into second. Henry, who was for a brief time leading this race, is back down to third now. He is still ahead of Fabi of our 7 Cup cars, so he hasn't been passed by all of them yet. Does seem to be a day where the fewer mistakes, the better, because a few drivers who had a good result coming their way have unfortunately seen them slip through their fingers.
It's about redemption, though. It's about redemption from yesterday in this Cup car field and making sure that everybody gets to the checkered flag. I think that mistakes are always going to happen on the racetrack. It's just if they're small mistakes or if they're bigger mistakes. And right now, all of these drivers are still in that learning phase. And this is the first year that the Sprint Challenge, the USA West Series, has even come here to Apex Motor Club. So this track may be proving a little bit more difficult than what it looks like on the track map.
Exactly. And yeah, I had mentioned that at the top of the show, that it really is deceiving until you get here in person and kind of get a feel for how this races. And I've been won over. I'm definitely a fan now of this Circuit 2, as they do have 2 of them here, and they can combine them into one long one. But pretty much everybody unanimously that we've talked to says Circuit 2 is the more fun, racy circuit, whereas Track 1 is kind of technical and more like a club course than this track. In the meantime, we have now hit the first of our lap traffic. Henkins approaches Justin Lewis, and they are not racing for position since these are 2 different classes. And he also doesn't have to hurry by. It doesn't look like he's in a rush to try and overtake him.
I also think that turn 12 isn't necessarily the best passing opportunity. Yes, you could force the issue, but how much time are you going to gain by forcing the issue versus friends that you're going to make that you're going to have to race against all year long? You want to make sure that you're the good guy out there on the racetrack. Don't force the issue when you don't need to, and everybody will be smiling and shaking hands at the end.
Drivers rarely forget, and we have to remember in a small paddock like this, you're up against the same drivers week in and week out. He gets by both of them, although I think Justin took turn 3 maybe a tad hot.
It definitely got in way too deep into turn number 3, but a great part about this Apex Motor Club is they have tons of runoff, especially in these heavy braking zones. Even down here in turn 5, look to driver's left. That is all pavement out there. Just in case you get in a little bit too deep, it gives the drivers a lot more time and a lot more grip to be able to slow down the car.
I wonder if there may have been a mistake from Laura Eli, because her last lap was a 38, I just noticed.
Oh, must be.
Yeah, and I was kind of curious if she was catching Darling, and we're seeing that the second sector definitely has a much slower time, so guessing it was somewhere around there. We heard potentially turn 4.
And that has been an area that a lot of cars have gone off during the course of the weekend. Not necessarily in this class per se, but other classes, other forms of racing that have been going on here this weekend. And turn 4, I think, is actually our fastest corner that we've got here on the racetrack. So it's definitely one of those that's a pucker factor.
Yeah, I think turn 9 might be the only one that could compete for that, but it definitely doesn't have the same risk that turn 4 has. And in fact, I love, because it doesn't really ever stop turning until you get to out of turn 5 there. Some drivers have deemed that straightaway as turn 4 3/4, as we see a little overtake on our leader in the Caymans. Herback gets passed by the other leader, Brandon Henkins.
And this is that corner that we're talking about. Look at how fast they go. And then right there, it seems like it ends. But like you said, it continues to bend around to the right while you're accelerating. Here's turn number 5, where they finally really have to woe the car up.
But he deals with it beautifully out there. Still running in the high 32s, it looks like, for Henkins. His quickest remains at a 31.8, so about a second off of what is possible, but he is now up to 16 seconds ahead of Darling. There is no rush out there. I think he's still putting in good lap after good lap in comparison to all of his competitors.
And I'm just kind of watching the line, and Brandon is doing a great job sticking on that racing line, really maximizing the arc around all of these corners. Look at how wide he is here in turn number 12. I see a lot of these drivers really not free up the car between those double apexes that we've got down here at turn number 12. And I think that Brandon is really just kind of talking to the car, letting it do its thing. If you try to tell a car to do too much, it's just simply not going to want to do it. He is nice and easy with that steering wheel, and it is reflecting in the lap time and also the 17.5-second lead.
I got to give some credit to Bradford, because remember how close Lewis was for the early laps. It's been up to about 2.5, and I think it's holding steady there at this point. But Zach responded. He got himself out of a threat that he was feeling from behind, and now it's just holding station. Unfortunately, he still hasn't caught Herback, but he stopped the bleeding. What did grow to about 3 seconds within the first few laps is now only to about 6.5 at this stage. So Greg is not running away at a great clip compared to how we started this thing off.
As a new racer, that is just checking off the experience boxes, right? Yesterday, you were on the attack, you made the pass, and you got the victory. Today, totally different race for Bradford. You had the pressure in the mirror, and guess what? You were able to handle the pressure. You didn't make any mistakes, and now you've grown that gap. So yeah, experience, another checked box.
So for those curious, Henkins, as we've mentioned, is leading the overall and in the Pro-Am. Your Masters leader for the Cup cars is still Laura Eli. She's separated herself from Manny Del Real by about 10 seconds. Down in the Cayman Masters, it's Greg Herback, and in the Cayman Pro-Am, it is Zach Bradford who is on the top step. We've got less than 10 minutes plus a lap to go, so it's coming down towards the end of this one at this stage.
Here we're back on Brandon Henkins here, going down towards what is turn number 3 here on this racetrack. Really rolling the speed, and you see him use some of that exit curb, some of the extra track out there. Don't have to worry about that in terms of track limits. These drivers are really free to kind of use all of the asphalt out here as long as you can make that lap time. Don't want to go out too far, but he is really doing a very, very nice job of staying on the clean part of this racetrack, because remember, we are in the middle of the desert. It gets dirty offline.
Absolutely. And to tell you how dirty, between pretty much every session that we've had this weekend, I'm pretty sure each and every time they've sent the little jet dryer trucks that they have out to try and blow dust off, because sometimes it's not just the weather, but the cars will track a lot of it on if they go wide in certain corners. There have been a few trouble zones. This one in particular saw a lot of action over the course of this weekend's racing, out of 11 right there. But no such problems for the 295 of Brandon. He is well within the boundaries.
And once again, look at how wide he is here in turn number 12. He doesn't go all the way out to the barriers, right? You don't need to let it go out that wide, but he's really just freeing up the car between those two apexes and then taking the hard launch out of that second apex. Clips the apex perfectly there in turn number 1, keeps the car nice and shallow here in turn number 2. And then accelerate it down this long straightaway. I'm actually curious what the top speed is they're getting up here. I would assume in these cars probably about 150, 155 miles an hour, given the length of that straightaway and the speed they come onto it.
Yeah, that would be my guess as well. We don't know for sure, but comparative comparative tracks, I feel like, yeah, that's what you tend to see from these cars at a straightaway of that length. One thing that I found interesting as well is we were talking about that last corner because we had Dominic Cicero with us for some of the other races yesterday. He made the comparison that it's almost like a squared off Sonoma final turn. And I almost feel like that's a little bit scarier because in Sonoma you try to hug that inside. Here you have to actually flirt with that outside a little bit.
You do. I kind of think of it as a backwards Andretti hairpin, honestly, from Laguna Seca, right? Laguna Seca turn number 2 is basically a double apex to the left, but this is a double apex to the right. I think it's a very, very similar shape, albeit we are going uphill into this one versus downhill at Laguna Seca. So 2 totally different corners, however, can still draw those similarities.
I think this is Fabi that we're seeing Brandon getting close to. He's since got the car going, but about to go a lap down potentially as they tick off yet another lap out here with a minute and a half, maybe have about 5 more to go before this is done. And we'll see if he is able to lap someone within his own class and add that to his list of accomplishments for this weekend. But so far, so good. Henkins kicking off 25, his second professional year of racing, with a very good start.
I'm just catching this on timing and scoring. We were talking about how Zach Bradford had done such a terrific job to really hold off Justin Lewis. But right now, Justin Lewis has cut that 3-second margin back down to 1 second. I think it was maybe a little bit of an off lap for that number 14 car the previous time around. We'll see if he's able to maintain it as our leader, like you said, is now getting by David Fabi.
There are a few drivers that are picking up the pace. Laura Eli set her personal best last time by at a 33.6. Krigler did the same. And I think I thought he was close to Del Real, but it looks like that was a glitch on our timing and scoring. So he's still about 7.5 seconds back from him. But Mark finding some performance late on in the day. And we have to remember, this is still out in the desert. It might be February, but we've been seeing temps in the 80s all weekend out here.
I'm happy you brought that up. We really haven't mentioned it at all because I think because it's February, right? We're loving the 80-degree weather here in Arizona, but it is 80 degrees ambient out here. It is not necessarily a cool weekend. These drivers are still working inside these race cars, and we got to remember, some of these cars are really sealed up with those windows, so it just kind of can heat soak. Now, the drivers have plenty of aids. They got some air conditioning units in some of them that they can kind of bring down those cockpit temperatures, but it also is at the cost of some car performance. So I think the real cutthroat competitors probably not running any of that, and it is a warm day and even warmer inside the race car.
And I'm seeing about 88 Fahrenheit on the track surface itself from our data here. So it's not outrageously hot, but it will continue to heat up throughout the race. In fact, I have seen it gone up a couple degrees since the green flag fell. But this is the last one of the weekend, so they don't have to worry about it too much longer. How far ahead is Henry Marshall here? Is he going to get another one before Brandon takes the checkers?
Oh, yeah, I think we have a solid another few laps, and I keep seeing that 278 car just kind of pop up in the screen just ahead in these shots, but I think given just the pace difference between Brandon Henkins and Henry Marshall, Brandon should be there probably this lap, I would assume.
You're right. Yeah, that is indeed him ahead. And as they come around there, he can see him in the same shot. We'll get about 3 laps to go as they cross the line down into turn 1, disappear over the crest, and then try to get the car to grip through the bottoming out between 1 and 2, get on that throttle, and already he is gaining fast. Marshall doesn't really need to fight this one too hard. Should be getting the blue flags, letting them know that faster car is coming along, but it's not going to happen in turn 3.
I think this is a great opportunity to learn from one of the fastest cars, or I should say the fastest car on the racetrack all weekend. When Henkins does get by Marshall, it'll probably happen down towards turn number 5, but Henry leaves the door open in turn number 4. Now is study time for Henry Marshall. What is Brandon Henkins doing that makes him so fast out there on the racetrack? Is it maybe a little bit of a later apex there in turn number 5, which really allows him to arc out of that corner versus push out wide? break out the notebook and start taking notes.
Yeah, in turn 6 there, one we haven't really talked about is, from what we've been told from a lot of drivers and coaches, pretty much flat out in almost everything, which is surprising because it's almost a full 90-degree turn, but it's so long and it's so banked that they can really hold their foot to the floor. Already, Brandon's starting to distance himself from the likes of Henry Marshall. So, with the cars coming around, this is definitely going to be 2 to go at the line. Remember, if you're new to the Porsche Sprint Challenge, it is plus 1 lap. So we wait for the for the timer to hit 0, and then we get the white flag for 1 to go.
Extremely impressive, up to 27 seconds in class over his next closest competitor, that 218 car of Darling. Brandon Henkins has just been on an absolute mission here this weekend. Fastest in qualifying, fastest in race number 1, currently holds the fastest lap here in race number 2. And I don't think that a single car has actually seen the lead flag or the lead other than Brandon Henkins, or maybe the safety car. Drew did a great job today.
Drew got to lead a few laps this weekend. Didn't win that one though. That's so thankfully we didn't have to finish under caution. And it sounds like here as we come to the finish with only 2 starts at Sonoma in 2024 and a little bit of PCA racing and maybe a bit of vintage racing here at Apex Motor Club. Going to 2025, the driver of Henkins did not see that much experience, so he came in a little fresh, a little bit green, and he used it as that learning season. Did stand on the top step one time at Laguna Seca, but has repeated that here in 26, marking this as more than just a year of learning. This is a year of taking it to his hands. Could this be maybe a championship starting as win number 2 goes to Brandon Henkins? This is white flag, 1 to go here for Brandon Henkins.
He is going to get around this 2.5-mile circuit before we even know it, because that last lap time, a 32.0, his fastest lap, a 31.8. So he is doing a terrific job out there. And as a former driver, this is what I like to see out of the performance, is that the driver's not changing, right? Even 2 laps to go, 1 lap to go. I look at Sector 1, and he's right on top of his fastest time out there. The more that you change your driving style or change your brake markers, you're just inviting variables into your lap time. Keep doing the exact same thing that you've done the previous 35 minutes, and it'll get you to the checkered flag.
It's just another lap of the race. Treat it like every other one that you've run so far. Down into turn 7, that seems to be the case for him. We'll get that Sector 2 marker for him, seeing if he is keeping up the pace here shortly. And yeah, it looks like he is still holding on to exactly how he has been running this whole race long. It's down to the chicane for the final time as he glances the curbs at 10 and 11 and up to the squared off turn 12. What a beginning here for Brandon Henkins. He is laying a marker down as he is going to win race number 2 here at Apex Motor Club.
A terrific job by that driver and that Loftus Motorsports team. You got to remember, not only leading the Pro-Am class, but also have Darling in the race as well. There goes Henry Marshall through. He's actually going to finish 3rd in that Masters class, and David Fabi finishing 4th in the Pro-Am class currently. So we're just waiting on Greg Herback. There we see him on the top of the screen. That is your Cayman Masters class leader.
Great job by Greg. Didn't get a lot of screen time, as there is Darling taking a 2nd place. Also deserves a lot of plaudits because he didn't really get to show what he could do in yesterday's race, and he comes back and takes himself a podium. Same thing here with Greg, except we did get to see a lot of him, but he didn't get the overall in the Caymans, and I think that is what he wanted today. He took a class win, but today it's going to be all the Caymans looking up to Greg Herback in race 2.
The victory squiggles across the start-finish line. That is a happy driver out there. Here comes Laura Eli as we see Zach Bradford take that Pro-Am victory in that Cayman class, but this this right here, the 209 Laura Eli, after having a poor day yesterday, comes home with a class victory and third overall.
Class victory and a classy drive, I gotta say. Great job not letting that altered start coming from pit lane slow her down. Gilles Doreel is going to finish in second, with Krigler finishing third in his class. Another podium for him. I'll have to check and see how many he's racked up with that one. But yeah, great job by Henry Marshall as well to finish this one out. So real quickly, let's run down. Brandon Henkins, your winner, with Jordan Darling finishing second. Laura Eli third overall, but your winner in the Masters, Manny Del Real, finished in fourth, with Krigler in fifth, and it's Marshall P6, Fabi in seventh. Herback was your winner in the Caymans. Bradford was second, and Lewis was third of our Cayman class. We've got some podium celebrations coming your way shortly, so don't go away.
Oh, it's awesome. I need my adrenaline fix, so this is like my home to my haul ass coming down here. And then when I leave, I'm going like this speed limit, you know?
How does Apex make me feel? Exhilarating.
It just purifies your soul. It grounds me, and I need that.
I mean, the track's amazing. It's way better than anything we've seen. But the people here really make you feel like you're part of the track experience.
Apex in one word. Home.
With race 2 done here for our Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West Series, it's time to give away some trophies. We're going to start off with the Cayman Masters today. Finishing in second, driving the number 75, it's Justin Lewis!
Oh boy. Good Hunter Lawrence, just second place this all season.
And our winner today, his second of his career, it's the driver of the 49 Cayman, Craig Herbeck! Well, Justin, I'll climb up here to your right side. We'll have to speak up a little bit with sound and whatnot, but your first race weekend of 2026, what did you learn over the course of the weekend?
Bumpers aren't cheap. I think that's what I'm looking at. A little wiggle at the end, got hit, but had a super fun time racing all weekend. Picked up a lot of pace today. Really great battle going there towards the end, and just bumped it off. But yeah, great weekend. Thank you very much. This place is amazing.
26 season, and Greg Herbeck, the familiar spot right up here on top of overall victory as well.
Yeah, I like it. It's good. You know, I learned a lot from Zach and from John. Got to be on my game. You guys are good.
And then I was going to ask you, when Zach got by you yesterday, were you taking notes and then simply applied them today?
I couldn't see through the tears coming through my eyes.
You did a great job. Congrats on another victory. Greg Herbeck. Congratulations to our Cayman Masters Podium finishers. Now it's time for the Good Boy Vodka Fastest Lap Award. Race 2, this one goes to the number 75 of Justin Lewis.
Justin!
Awesome work to Justin Lewis for our Good Boy Vodka Fastest Lap of the race. Up next is the Cayman Pro-Am. With a solid weekend, today it goes to the number 14 of Zach Bradford. Zach, another first place trophy, the first race weekend of 2026. This is a lot of experience for you. Winning yesterday, winning today. A little bit of a different battle and race for you today, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Justin was super consistent today, and Greg got away from me a little bit, and I was a little less consistent. So definitely different conditions, a little longer race because we had the caution. So a lot of fun racing, and really enjoyed the time out and learned a lot.
What did you think about this facility, Apex Motor Club, especially being new for the 2026 calendar?
You know, it was a lot of fun. It led to some, again, close racing, and I think it lends itself to that, the way that the corners kind of bunched up a little bit. So it definitely leads for some fun.
Great job this weekend. Another victory for Zach Bradford. And now you can spray some champagne.
That's our winner in the Cayman Pro-Am, Zach Bradford. Now it's time for the 992 Masters. Finishing third today in the number 278, it's Henry Marshall. In second, the number 270, it's Manuel Gil Del Rio. And going from pit lane to victory, it's the driver of the 209, our winner, Laura Eli. Henry, we'll start over here with you. Third place, you collected a first place victory yesterday. What did you learn over the course of the weekend?
Don't get greedy with the car.
How have you been liking that new car?
I like it a lot. Gotta respect it, man.
Certainly a great job. 2 podium finishes for Henry Marshall. We'll climb over here to Manny. I'll climb on your right side. Now, this is a little bit of a redemption race after yesterday not being able to finish, but here you are with the trophy.
Yeah, it was great. Yesterday, after the chaotic start that we all had, I had to make sure that we made it to the first 2 corners at least, and it was good. The whole weekend has been a learning curve for us, so especially for me, new in the series. So, but I'm very, very happy, and congratulations to my 2 fellow podium finishers here.
Great job on the second place here. Now we got those speakers going. Laura Eli, this is the redemption run from yesterday. We saw you walking away from the car. Just not a pretty sight yesterday, but today you started pit lane. You drove through the Cayman field. You drove through your class, and you picked up a first place trophy.
Yeah, I'm still real embarrassed from yesterday. I'm going to say sorry once again to Jordan since he's a great competitor, and I never want to make mistakes like that. But today was fun. The track's fun, and I just was being more patient and being careful and trying to work through the field and hopefully come out P1, which I did. So yeah, it's a fun place. Kind of glad we came here. It's last week we were here testing with the other drivers, so it's a nice place, and Arizona always has good weather, so it's a good place to start.
It's a beautiful February weekend. You know, it is a little bit warm in the sunshine, though. Did you notice the 80-degree ambient temperatures in there?
Not really. You know, once you start focusing on the race and you just keep focusing, and you don't always notice the heat. Plus, we have the cool shirts, a lot of us, so that helps.
Great job on the victory, the redemption. We look forward to more. Laura Eli, your victor. You'll just swap those hats out, please. Congratulations to the 992 Masters.
Nice drive, Laura.
Up next is our Apexon Award. This goes to the hardest charger of the race. This time it goes to the driver of the 295. It's Brandon Henkins. Now, last but not least, it's the 992 Pro-Am Podium.
On third place, it's the driver of the 204. It's Mark Krigler. In second, a great recovery after yesterday's race. It goes to the number 218 of Jordan Darley. And a dominant performance all weekend. Double wins for first place. The 295 of Brandon Henkins.
Well, Mark, we'll start over here with you. The weekend is officially accomplished. You're standing up here with some hardware finally. What did you learn over the course of the weekend?
Yeah, it's a good weekend. It's a great track to start off the season. Car really well, just getting used to driving the car. Great competition here, and just a good time.
Look forward to watching you race the rest of the year and hopefully picking up some more hardware. And Jordan, I'll climb up here to your right side. Another one of these redemption drives, a second place trophy here, a little bit of a different race, and we're standing here talking to you this time.
Yeah, happy to be up here and glad to make it to the first turn.
Any other thoughts on the weekend?
It's always good to race with Brandon and the Loftus team. Happy to come out to Apex with the family. It's a great track, and happy to have some people here.
Pretty cool to see Loftus Motorsports on the first and second place steps here on Pro-Am, and Brandon Henkins, another first place victory. I think the only other car that led laps today or yesterday was the safety car. Otherwise, it's been all you.
Hey, I'll take it. It's a special one for me at Apex. This is where I learned how to. First place I drove a race car, and we're connected with Loftus, my coach here, and so yeah, special place for me.
So you have a lot of experience here, but looking forward to the rest of the schedule. There was a lot of new tracks for you last year. Are you looking forward to going back to any of them?
I am. I'm actually running in the North American Series this year, so same thing, 3-4 new tracks I've never been to, and looking forward to the challenge.
We look forward to watching you guys, and give it up for your Pro-Am podium.
Let's swap those hats out, please. And now you can spray the champagne! Congratulations to our Pro-Am podium finishers. That completes our racing for Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West here at Apex. We'll be back for more in our USA West Series at Sonoma, April 10th to 12th. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.